welcome to my kitchen. Again, it is Saturday evening. Time to try another new recipe. I'm so excited. So I think I'm going to go tomorrow and I'm going to do a casserole tomorrow. I'm going to prep a little bit of it tonight, but I'm going to actually cook the casserole in the morning. Sometimes I do it on the night before and sometimes I do it in the morning. I think this one will be better tomorrow. But I'm going to make the cake tonight. So this cake is one I have never made, called Buttermilk Texas Sheet Cake. It looks so good. Let me show you the picture. Doesn't that just look good? It's not chocolate. I love chocolate, but it's not chocolate. But doesn't that look good? I've never made this. I'm going to try it today. It's a cake with an oil base, which I think is always better because it's always moist. It's never dry. It's an oil-based Texas sheet cake, but a buttermilk Texas sheet cake. Now, if you do not have buttermilk, did you know you can use sour milk instead of buttermilk? So, how do you get sour milk? You can buy sour milk in the store. Many, many years ago, before ultra pasteurization or homogenization, before the ultra stuff, you used to, in the 50s and 60s, before, you could take a jug of milk, set it out on the counter overnight, and it would sour. You can't do that anymore. It won't sour. It will never sour. And the reason it won't is because they destroyed the enzymes in it now with the ultra pasteurization, homogenization. They've destroyed those enzymes that'll sour milk. So you cannot set it out on the counter and have it sour. It'll spoil, but it won't sour. To get sour milk now, you have to put milk in a cup, whatever you're going to measure it, and then add a teaspoon per cup, add a teaspoon of vinegar or lemon juice. That will sour your milk. It makes it sour. But you can no longer set it out on the counter and say, okay, tomorrow it will be sour. No, it won't. They've destroyed the enzymes that'll do that now. So, lemon juice or white vinegar will sour milk. So put in a teaspoon of either the lemon juice or the vinegar and add milk to a cup measure. If you need more than that, just put, 1 teaspoon per cup of milk. So whatever equals that. But I have buttermilk, so I'm going to use buttermilk. But you need, if you're using, if it has baking soda in the recipe, it usually needs a sourness that activates, or an acid. It's the acid that activates the sour, or the soda, the baking soda that makes it bubble, it makes it make air, and makes the cake rise. So since this has baking soda and not baking powder, it needs the sour something, either sour milk or buttermilk, to activate the baking soda. So that's why you have to have buttermilk or sour milk in this recipe, and a lot of recipes that if it asks for buttermilk, you can't just use regular milk, because you probably aren't going to get your cake to rise as well, because you're not activating the baking soda. If it has baking powder in it either with soda or without soda, then it's probably fine. But I have buttermilk, so we're going to use buttermilk. Okay, now I'm only making half the recipe because it's for me and Mom. And me and Mom are not eating an entire cake. I'm on a diet. Mom doesn't eat but little bits of sweets because she tries to keep that under control as well. So, but I don't cut it out completely either. So I lost 65 pounds today. 65 pounds I hit today. But I can still have cake. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's why I'm making half the cake. But I'm going to give you the measurements for the whole cake, just so you know what it is. Okay, so I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to put it down. Flip it around. There you go. So there's my bowl. And I'm going to get that there. All right, so then it tells me to put the oven on 350, which I've done. And if you're making the full-size cake, it says to grease a jelly roll pan. That's kind of like what most people think is a cookie sheet. I'll show you mine. I'm not going to use this, though, because I'm only making half the recipe. So it's like this pan. Mine is, I know it's well seasoned, but it's a pan like that. Real thin, that is what a jelly roll pan is. And that's what you make this cake in. But it's not, like I said, I am not doing that because I'm only making half the cake. So I'm actually using a 10-inch square glass dish, hoping it's going to work. That's what I'm going to use. It's a little bigger of a glass dish. So basically what you are making is a thin cake layer. A thin cake layer. Alright, so 350 degrees, and it says to grease that, which I'm going to do right before I pour this in. Then it says for the cake, you're going to add flour and sugar to a large bowl, mix it up, and set it aside. So I'm going to mix 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And I've got my phone sitting on my flour thing, so hold on here. Here, we'll just put it on the sugar thing for a minute. It was my my prop here, my stand. So 2.5 cups. Okay, so I'm just stirring the flour around to lighten it up. Rather than sift it, you can use a whisk and stir up your flour. Keeps it from being overly packed down tight. That way you don't get too much flour. So I'm going to put in 5 of these. 1 right in the pan. Yes, this is a different way. You're not creaming your butter first. 2, 3, 4, and last one, 5. This is a Texas sheet cake recipe. You do it different. Okay, so then you're going to add the flour, and you're going to add 2 cups of sugar. And you're going to mix that with the flour. Yep, that's this recipe. Never made this, so I have no idea how it's going to turn out. Just hoping it's going to be good. And my phone just fell off the stand. Hold on. Let's don't do that again, please. Behave yourself. All right. Now, 2 cups of sugar. Hold on, I gotta find a different measuring thing here. That'll work. In with the flour. So this is more kind of a dump everything in cake. That's what Texas sheet cakes are. All right, so there's that. Then you're going to mix those together. Now these are just all dry, so I'm just going to turn this on real low. Okay, so that's mixed. Now I'm going to take my phone over here. Here we go. And I'm going to the stove, because now we're going to put something on the stove. Yep, for the cake recipe, we're putting something on the stove. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a stick of butter, and you're going to melt this on the stove. Turn that on. And you're going to add a cup of water and a 1/4 cup of oil. Or actually it's a 1/2 cup of oil, but I'm only doing a 1/4 cup because I'm doing half. So it's a cup of water and a 1/2 cup of oil. And I'm going to put those together in this measuring cup right now. I've already got my water in the measuring cup. I'm just adding the oil. So 1 cup of water, 1/2 cup of oil. I'm going to add that in with the butter. And it says, put them in a saucepan, turn it on medium-high heat, and bring it to a boil. Okay, so we got that. Here is the oil and water together. Put it in the pan, medium-high heat. That's actually a little higher than what I have it. There we go. Bring it to a boil. Then, when it is boiling, you're going to pour it into the sugar and flour mixture over here. Like I'm getting a little cup for my egg. Then I have eggs, cinnamon, baking soda, vanilla, and the buttermilk. Now the buttermilk, I'm going to need 2/3 a cup. So let me go ahead and I'm going to put that in this measuring cup real quick. Just measuring my buttermilk so I have it ready. All right, there we go. Put that there. I'm going to get a spoon here. Actually, I think I'm going to use a spatula. That way I can scrape that out with it too. Here, let's use this one. Isn't he pretty? We'll use that one. I'm going to put that butter back down there. I'm just going to stir it. It says bring it to a boil. Now I've got my oven is on 350, so that's ready to go. All right, that butter's melted. I just got to wait for it to boil. Butter, oil, and water. And we're going to pour it. Then we're going to add the eggs, cinnamon. So you have 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and 2/3 a cup of buttermilk. And then you're going to mix it with a beater until it's well blended. Pour it into the greased pan, and you're going to bake it at 350 for 20 to 25 minutes. That's boiling. So we're done. We're going to take that off the heat. Let it sit for a second. I'll move the phone back over here. Okay, there we go. I'm going to plug this back in so my phone doesn't die or anything. Okay, so then it says to pour this in with the flour. I'm going to turn this on low, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to pour that in and let it mix. That's really hot, so I'm telling you, you don't want to add your eggs directly in there. So I'm going to put the egg in. I'm not going to put the egg in first. I don't want to cook my egg. It doesn't say to do that, but I know you don't want to cook the egg. So there we go. Okay, get myself some space. Okay, so then I'm going to add... let's see what we're going to do. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I got to find my measuring thing. Well, here. This is just a tiny one, but I'll make it equal that. Put in the vanilla. Until I get up to that amount. Hold on. Some of my measuring spoons are in the dishwasher. So I'm just using the little ones. Adding to it. Okay, there's the vanilla. I'm going to mix that. Ooh, that smells so good, that vanilla. Okay, so then I'm going to add a teaspoon of cinnamon. Again, I'm just using my little tiny measuring thing. It'll work though. I'm sure I had it right. And stir that in. Oh, I love cinnamon cake with cinnamon in it. Oh, so good. Okay, there's that. That is gonna be so good, I'll bet. All right, there's my cinnamon. Then I'm gonna go ahead. Well, let's do the baking soda. Baking soda is 1.5 teaspoons. Okay, there we go. Let's put that in. It doesn't say to mix it in between, but I'm doing that. And because that was hot, yeah, that's still really hot. I'm going to add cold buttermilk to chill that before we put in an egg. So here is 2/3 a cup of buttermilk. Here, I know you can't see. There we go. 2/3 a cup of buttermilk. Trying to get it all in there. Drip, drip, drip. Then we're going to stir that in. Now that should chill that a little bit. Uh-oh. Meant to turn that higher, not off. Okay, then we're going to do the egg. I'm going to put the egg in this same cup. Break it into there. Make sure it's a good egg. 2 eggs. This requires 2 eggs, but I'm making half the recipe, so I'm doing 1. There's my egg. Then we will mix the egg in, and that's done. How easy was that? I'm not sure a lot of people realize that making a cake from scratch is real easy. There we go. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything now. Flour, sugar, oil, water, butter, eggs, vanilla, cinnamon, baking soda, and buttermilk. There we go. So then you're going to put this in a greased pan. So here is the pan I'm using. Like I said, you really want the jelly roll pan if you're making the whole recipe. This is a 10-inch square glass pan, so you want it to be a thin cake. So this is probably, I'm hoping it's still going to do that. Just to try it. So you want to oil your pan. Then you're going to put in, got to get my bowl over here. Put in your batter. Get it out here. My batter, let's take all the bit. It's just real runny, because this kind of batter, a Texas sheet cake batter, is real runny. So when it comes out and it's real runny, yeah, it's supposed to be. It's an oil batter, so it will be runny. And it has water and melted butter in it, so do not be dismayed. It's supposed to be really, really runny. I'm just getting it all off the batter. I can't stand to waste any of it. All off of the beater, not off of the batter. Okay, so then I'm going to pour this in the pan. Here we go. See, it'll pour real quick and easy. Take this little spatula, scrape it all down, and then right in the oven. Then the thing is, it has to cool for 30 minutes before you put the icing on it. Now I'll probably come back and do the icing as a separate live, because we're not going to sit here and wait for it to bake for half an hour and then cool for half an hour. We're not sitting here for an hour. I will come back and do the icing separate, so come back and look for the icing. Well, they're called it frosting. It's the same thing. And that has 6 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of light brown sugar packed, half a cup of milk, regular milk, 4 to 5 cups of powdered sugar. And then you heat that and pour it on. And I've never made an icing with brown sugar. That's going to be good. Okay, so there it is. You see it really levels itself. You don't even have to level it. But you see you see the bubbles in it? So how do you get bubbles out of this? You do this. Smack it on the counter. Be careful with glass. Don't break it. And the bubbles pop. They come to the surface and they pop. And you won't have air bubbles in your cake. Just smack it on the counter a few times. Get out your frustrations. Just don't break the pan. And then we're going to put it in the oven. And it says 20 to 25 minutes. So you see in this pan it is pretty thin. And that's what you want. It's supposed to be a thin cake. That means, you know what that means? That means you can eat a bigger piece because it's thin. Okay, so we're going to put it in 20 to 25 minutes at 350. And then I'm going to do a couple other things here since we're here. Let's go ahead and let's set it for 20 minutes so we'll check and see what it's like at that time. Then I'm going to prep some stuff for tomorrow. So let me move my phone here. I'm going to actually make the casserole tomorrow, but I'm going to get some stuff ready so I don't have to do all the work tomorrow. Let's move this over here. There's my pan. And I'm going to fry some hamburger. That's what I'm going to do to start. So I'm going to turn that on. So what I am making tomorrow, now this is a recipe I think it's been around for a while. That's just some coconut oil, so it won't stick. And this is the handiest tool ever. I got a Bed Bath & Beyond or something similar for smashing up hamburger. It chops it like four directions at once. Now I'm going to use, it says a couple of cups of meat. You can use whatever meat that you want. I'm using hamburger just because I want to. And it's easy and fast. And I've got to save a half a cup of this hamburger for a recipe next week. So let me get this one and leave a half a cup of this in its package, and I'm going to put it in the freezer so it will stay. And then next week I'm making something with a half a cup of hamburger. That way I can buy it all at once and divide it up. Let me just get this open here. Here, you want to watch? Oh, never mind. Avalanche. It's real exciting watching me open a package of hamburger. I don't have a very stable thing. That's why that's falling. Okay. And I'm just making a mess. Alright, so I'm opening my hamburger. Leaving a little less than half of it in there because that's how much is in there. Okay. I know, I'm mumbling. Sorry. Just mumbling. I know what I'm doing, whether you do or not. I'm saving a little bit less than half of this because it's more than a pound, and I need half a pound. I'm going to take half this hamburger out. Leave that half in for next week. Then I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to put this hamburger in the pan. And then I have another package, because that's not enough. I really need close to a couple pounds. And this package and that makes a couple pounds. Now this is ground chuck. Anything that requires hamburger, I always use ground chuck. Always, always, always. For making just plain old hamburgers, ground chuck. Doesn't have as much fat as ground hamburger, so it's not as greasy. It does have enough fat that it's not dry. Ground chuck is wonderful. Okay, so then I'm going to put the rest of this package up for next week, put it in the freezer, and I'm going to make something different with that next week. Now what I am making, I know I never finished my thought. What I am making tonight was actually tomorrow, but what I'm making this week is tater tot casserole. Now there's a lot of recipes for this. I've heard of this, I've never had it. Put tater tots on top of it as the topping. I've never made it, never eaten it. But boy, there's a lot of recipes for it, and they're all different. And so I picked a few of them and sort of consolidated them. I'm going to wash my hands real quick because I have raw hamburger on them before I touch anything else here. Hold on. So I found one that is made with chicken. It sounded really good, but I just had chicken last week, so I don't want to do chicken again. I'm going to turn on this fan overhead. And there's my chopper. So you just take it and you chop up your hamburger. And it chops it up in little pieces really quick. It's much faster, much more even. And it's pretty cold, this hamburger, so it's taking the temperature of my pan down really fast. So I'm turning it up higher for a couple of minutes till the heat gets knocked back up. And that's what I'm going to do here is just cook this hamburger till it's done. Now I'm going to use this to make the casserole tomorrow, but this will already be done. So the chicken one, like I said, the chicken one looked good, sounded good, but I just had something that had chicken and a sauce. It would have been just like it. So I didn't want to have the same thing twice in a row. So I liked the idea of this one with a hamburger because it's more like beef. Now, these recipes, as a whole, they use cream of chicken, cream of mushroom, cream of something soup. And also what I made last week had cream of chicken soup. I don't want to overdo the cream of something soup because then it just all tastes the same. And it's better for you if it's homemade. So did you know you can make homemade cream of something soup? You can make that cream base. It's basically a white sauce, which is flour and butter. Add some salt and pepper, and add some either beef broth or chicken broth and some milk. And there you go. That is your homemade chicken, whatever soup, cream of something soup. So I'm going to make it homemade rather than use the can because it's so much better, and it's cheaper, and it's easier. It's just better for you, and it just tastes better. Because, those canned soups, they have a really processed taste, Bleh. They're okay. It's okay once in a while. But since I did something with that last week, I won't do it again. So tomorrow, I'm going to make the sauce for it that will be homemade. And I'm going to do it with beef. Since I'm using this hamburger, I'm going to do it with beef. Now, after that gets done, I'm going to take that hamburger out, and I'm going to put it in a bowl, and then I'm going to saute some onions and peppers. So let me move this back over here. I'm going to put the bowl there. I'm going to get a little chopping block here. You can use a big one. I just love that little tiny one. And I'm going to chop. Well, let me get the other recipe here. So like I said, I sort of modified this from a bunch of different ones and picked the stuff out that I liked to make my own tater tot casserole. So I'm going to use, now I'm only going to make a half size because it's just for me and Mom are not going to eat entire tater tot casserole. We're going to have it coming out of our ears. So for 2 people, I cut recipes in half and stuff. So that's what I'm doing. But I'll give you the full recipe. So you're going to have half of an onion. Half an onion chopped. Let me turn this back down a little bit so it doesn't burn. Now, after that hamburger's done, you're going to drain the hamburger because you don't want all that grease in it. It's still got less than other than regular hamburger since it's ground chuck, but you still don't want the hamburger grease. It's not good for your arteries. If you want some oil in your meat, drain out the oil that cooks out of it and add some coconut oil or something, and you can put good oil in it. So you can still have some oil. You do need oil for health. So you can put some oil in it, but just don't eat the oil that's in the hamburger because it's bad. Tastes good, but it's bad for your arteries. Okay, so I'm going to chop half an onion. So I'm just going to take an onion that I have. I like to just slice hash marks through it. Get little pieces. If you want little pieces, big pieces, whatever you want, it does not matter. Just chop it how you like it. And then I go crossways and do the other one. This already had some done from last time I used this onion, but I don't think it's deep enough. And then you cut, put it on its side and cut down, and you get a bunch of little chopped pieces. Instant chopped onion. Okay, there's a little bit more. And that's all I'm going to need for my half recipe. And we're going to saute these onions and peppers. Now I have always used Nicole's for pepper. This is it means like a green pepper, bell pepper. And I was watching a cooking woman doing a cooking show on Facebook, and she talked about something. Wasn't this recipe, but it was something else that called for green pepper. And she said sometimes I don't like to use bell pepper. I want some other kind of pepper. And I thought, oh, why don't I do that? I don't know why I don't do that. So I got a different pepper. It's not a bell pepper. I like red bell peppers. I'm not that crazy about green ones. I like them in some things, and some things I'm like, yeah. It's just, yeah. So, I need also a half a cup of a chopped green pepper, or chopped find whatever kind of pepper you want. This is a Cubano pepper. They're mild, they're supposed to be mild, but they're not a bell pepper. So I'm going to wash this because it hasn't been washed. Okay, now it's washed. Hold on, let me stir this hamburger. This isn't really the best stir, but it's what I got here. I could get a spoon, I guess. I need to turn it back up again because it's slowing down the cooking again. Turn it back a little hotter again. And I also, you know what, I didn't salt and pepper this, so let me do that real quick. Salt, pepper. Now this recipe doesn't call for salt and pepper, but that's because you would be using the canned cream of soup, and I'm not using the canned soup. I'm going to be making it from scratch, so it's going to need salt and pepper. Because it won't have salt and pepper. Let's add some more. Okay, so let's let that cook a little more. Okay, half a cup. Let me get to measure for that one. Is that what size I want? Yep, there's what I want right there. I probably have more onion than that, but I don't care if there's more onion. But I'm going to save this pepper. This pepper I also need for something next week too. So I'm just going to chop it in little pieces. Chop it however you want it. It's got a weensy little stem there. Let's take that off. Uh-oh, sorry, I'm rocking the world. Okay, I'm going to chop it that way. Then I'm going to put it in littler pieces. I'm going to scoop it into there. Okay. I've never used one of these. It smells really good. Never used one, never. I've probably had it in something. But not anything I cooked. It's been something somewhere else probably. This is a Cubano green pepper. It's supposed to be mild, I hope. I better test it. I don't want to put something hot and spicy in here. Yeah, it's mild. Not spicy. Okay. But it doesn't, you know, it's just something different than a bell pepper. Just to have something different. It doesn't, I notice it doesn't have as many seeds as a bell pepper. I'm liking that a lot. But, you know, whatever kind of pepper you want, it'll work. I say, a lot of times when it calls for bell pepper, I'll put in red instead of green because it's a sweeter pepper. It's really the ripe version of a green one. Here, let me show you what I'm doing. I'm putting it in this little, this is a measuring thing. A little bit more. Just chop it in little pieces. Whatever size you want. Put it in there. And my cake, you realize my cake's only got like 6 minutes. It's 8 minutes. So I may be able to pull that cake out of the oven. I won't be able to ice it because it's got to cool for half an hour. Hopefully I'll be done by then. Okay, so there's the peppers. There's the onions. Okay, I measured it. I'm going to go ahead and put them back down. I'm going to save this pepper, but I'm going to use it next week. The rest of it next week. I like to plan some. If I have to buy a bell pepper or some kind of pepper, and I only use half of it, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do the rest of the half? So I like to plan a couple recipes that use peppers if I'm going to buy a pepper, if I can. Do something. What else am I going to do with that pepper? Okay, this is just about done here. Alright. I'm going to take, let's see, somewhere. Oh, I think it might be dirty. Alright, let me get it and wash it. I have a slotted spoon. Is it dirty? No? But it's hiding. Where are you, slotted spoon? Let me look in here again. This is where I keep it. Alright, here's a different one. It's a nifty one that I have somewhere. I wonder where that went. I didn't know I was going to need it, or I already would have found it. I didn't realize I was going to need it. Let me look in the dishwasher again. Is it hiding? Nope. It's not in there. Is it in there? It's a huge thing. I don't know how I've lost it. Oh well. Alright, let's use something else. We will use this spoon. I'm just using a slotted spoon. I'll find it as soon as I'm done. And I'm going to remove the hamburger to the bowl. Then we can drain off all this grease. Oh, do I still have you where you can't see? Oh yeah. There you go. Now you can see. I'm just putting hamburger in this bowl, removing from the pan. Grease. Let me turn that fire off because now I don't need that fire hot. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. Then let me see. I'm going to find. Let me get that off the burner. Got to find something to pour that grease in. You know what? I think I took all my empty cans outside. Well, I'll just pour it in a little pan and then I'll dump it out later. Let's see. Here's the pan. Just pour my grease. Get rid of that. That was a lot of grease in that hamburger. Sometimes this ground chuck has more grease than others. Sometimes it doesn't have much, and sometimes it does. So I'm actually going to kind of rinse that out. Get out any leftover grease. Then we're going to saute this onion and pepper in some butter. So it tells you you need actually you would need, for the whole recipe, you would need 6 tablespoons of butter. And that can be salted butter, that would be fine. I will use salted. I usually only use unsalted for baking. Matter of fact, you know, you can use salted butter for baking, and I bet you won't tell the difference. Okay. So you would need 6 tablespoons for the full recipe. Of butter. I'm going to put that in the pan, melt butter. I'm turning the heat back on now. Oh, my little Godiva's sneaking around here. What you doing, kitty cat? She sees me turn around, she runs like, oh no, she caught me. Oh, she caught me. So funny. Set that pan of grease out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to saute this, and then I'm just going to put it in the refrigerator. So I'm going to put the hamburger in the refrigerator, and I'm going to put the onions and the peppers, once they're sauteed in the refrigerator. I'm going to finish cooking this tomorrow. But the cake has 2 minutes. Cake's almost done. Let me take a little peek at that. Oh, is that pretty? Hello, beautiful cake. Okay, so it's probably going to use the other 5 minutes because it's pretty wet looking at the top. So that's the first 5-minute check. And it does not look like it's done yet. That's good, but at least, you know, you got to check it early. Here's my little cake tester. Got to get that out too. And he's disappeared. He must have left with a slotted spoon. Slotted spoon and the cake tester have eloped. And they must be off on their honeymoon now. Huh. Yep, he's off. It's hard to find that cake tester because it's so little. It's skinny. But that slotted spoon should be able to find. Well, I don't see it, so we'll use a toothpick. And it'll be time right now. Where are you, cake tester? I don't know how I'm losing stuff. I clean up, then I can't find anything. Okay, my butter, see, it's getting nice and melted, so I'm going to add my peppers and onions. Let me get a little closer here. Get a spoon. And you just saute them until they're soft. And that you're going to want to keep all that butter. So I'm going to put this in a container to put in the refrigerator to keep it overnight. But you got to have every drop of that butter because you're going to add flour and make a roux with it, so you need the butter. So when I scrape it out to keep it, and so I'll put it in some little pan, I have to have all the butter. And tomorrow I will reheat this and add the flour. Oh, there's my first check. I'm going to go ahead and set it for 5 more minutes because I think it's going to need 5 minutes. Let me get that going first. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, found my cake tester. It was in my drain board. But the slotted spoon is not. Hi, Karen. Cooking time. There's my cake tester. So let's look at the cake. Like I said, I think it is still wet. Oh, yeah. Very wet. Okay, so let's go 5 more minutes. I think this oven usually does take the longer cooking time whenever there's 2 times. So this is a cubano pepper, or a 1/4 cup, or for the full recipe it'd be 1/2 cup, and 1/2 cup of onion. And I'm sauteing it in 6 tablespoons of butter to get it done. And then tomorrow morning before lunch I'm going to finish this casserole, but I'm just pre-cooking the meat and pre-cooking the onions and peppers. So tomorrow I just have to mix it together, put it in a casserole. It will be a tater tot casserole. That I have never made a tater tot casserole before, so I'm interested to try it. So let me see. I want to find out how much. I want to measure that hamburger. Because, let's see. It needs about 2.5 cups. That's probably too much hamburger. Let's see. Put it in my cup. Put it in my measuring thing. Okay. I don't measure hamburger by the cup usually. Measure by the pound. Okay, that is, I'm turning that off, it's getting a little brown. Oh yeah, it's about the right amount, about 2.5 cups. It might be more like 3, but it's close. I'm going to put it, I think I'm just going to keep it in a measuring cup with plastic wrap on it. Oh, there's my crazy cat. There she is. What you doing, Dada? Huh? She's looking at me like, what? What? You're speaking to me? What do you want? Alright, there we go. There's still a little grease in the bottom of this bowl, so I'm now scooping it out to get rid of the rest of that little bit of grease. There we go. So then my meat is ready, my onions and peppers are ready. 2 more minutes, that cake should be ready. Let's take that off. I think I'm just going to put these in the other measuring cup. Because they're hot, so I don't want to put them in something plastic and melt the plastic, so I'm putting them in glass. I really probably browned it a little too much, but it ain't going to hurt anything, as long as it's not burned. It's just starting to brown a little bit. All the butter, get all the butter in there. So tomorrow when I reheat this up and add flour, it'll make my roux, and then I can add milk and beef broth and have, instead of cream of mushroom soup, I will have a homemade white sauce with beef broth in it. It will be so much better. Okay, now it is time to check the cake again. Drop in some of my hamburger over here. Let us see what we have. 1 more minute. 45 seconds to be exact. And then I have my other stuff prepped as well. So then I will come back. It'll have to cool for half an hour. Then I'll come back and do the icing live separate. Oh, so what am I making? I am making, the cake is Buttermilk Texas cheesecake. Oh, it looks so good in here. I found this recipe. Look at that picture. It looks so good. It's got brown sugar in the icing. And then I'm also making, what I'm going to finish tomorrow is a tater tot casserole. And there are a lot of recipes. We got 5 seconds. A lot of recipes for tater tot casserole. So I kind of combined some of them to make it be like what I think sounded good. And hopefully it will be good. Alright, let's take this cake and see what it looks like. Ooh. Oh, she's pretty. Let's see. Oh, it feels done. Alright, let me find my cake tester here. This has got cinnamon in it. Oh yeah, it's done. So then you let it cool for half an hour, and then you're going to pour this cooked icing on top. And I will come back and do that. And so thank you very much for watching, and I will sign off for now. And in a half an hour I'll come finish it, because it said let it cool half an hour or so. So I hope you will come back and watch me make the icing for our Buttermilk Texas sheet cake. Sounds good, thank you. And then tomorrow morning, before lunch, I will finish the tater tot casserole. We'll see how that turns out. It'll be the first time I've ever made that either. So it's just new stuff to try. So I'm going to go ahead and go. You have a good night. Well, or I will see you in half an hour when I come make the icing. And so long.